In this lesson, we're going to talk about crafting stronger sentences and also expanding sentences. So it's really important to have really strong sentences when you're writing a narrative, because if you have boring sentences, your reader is not going to be interested in what you have to say. When writing a narrative, sentence fluency and word choice are extremely important. You want to choose different types of sentence structures to use, and you want to have a very specific word choice to keep the reader interested. If you keep using the same type of sentence, or if you keep using the same words, you're going to lose the interest of your reader. Just like you wouldn't watch a movie with the same scene repeating or with the actor saying the same lines over and over again, you don't want to read a narrative that has the same problem. So I have this poster hanging in my classroom, which you can see here on the left side of this PowerPoint, and it says this. It says, this sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing gets boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. Notice we have the same sentence structure. We have simple sentences back to back, and really the only strong vocabulary word we see there is monotonous. Everything else is pretty, simple, and it doesn't sound very good. So we don't want to have this in our narrative. Instead, we want to have what's later on in the poster. It says, now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music, the writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes when I am certain the reader is rested, I will engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetuous of a crescendo. The roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So write with a combination of short, medium, and long sentences. Create a sound that pleases the reader's ears. Don't just write words, write music. So you want to think of this as an actual story you're telling. Pretend that you're by a campfire telling the story, or you've got the flashlight to your face and you're telling the story to your reader. You don't want to make it a dull, boring story. You want to make it come to life. You want to make it be able to be visualized, okay? So what you're going to be doing first is you're going to be going to the crafting sentences paper, and we're going to discuss really quick what you're supposed to do here. So it says the following ideas were used to create a short personal narrative. Read them the narrative and list 3 reasons why it is an example of a poor narrative. So this is what they had. Training really hard for a race, being in the lead but falling behind, losing the race, feeling good about myself anyway. So this is what they wrote based off of those 4 bullet points. I trained really hard for my track team's final race. When the day of the race came, I made it to the lead, but I got tired and a girl ran in front of me. I lost, but I still felt like I did a great job. Now, this is a really poor example of a narrative. Now, what makes this a poor example of a narrative? Well, I wrote a couple of reasons here. Number 1, this is lacking strong vocabulary. There's absolutely no academic vocabulary here. They can take words like really hard and got tired, and they could turn it into something better, saying that it was extremely difficult or that they were exhausted. It doesn't have a lead. It just says, I trained really hard for my track team. Well, show me. You could start with an action lead, or you can start with a snapshot, or you can start with dialogue. Come up with a lead to make this a little more interesting, to grab the reader's attention. There really isn't a climax to this story. It's lacking suspense. It just says, oh, a girl ran in front of me and I lost. Okay, well, show what happened when the girl ran in front of you. You have to make it exciting for your reader. This narrative also has absolutely no dialogue. Narratives tend to have dialogue. Remember, they are a story that you are going to be writing, where you are the narrator writing it in chronological order. There needs to be dialogue that you are talking, you say something in your story. Also, there's absolutely 0 transitional words or phrases in this. There's nothing that really says afterwards, before, meanwhile. It doesn't say anything. No transitional phrases. So it's missing quite a few things. And finally, obviously, there's no figurative language in this whatsoever. Remember, figurative language is what really paints a picture for your writing, and it makes it come to life. So you shouldn't be able to, you should be able to visualize what is happening in a narrative. And in this case, I can barely visualize anything because I'm not really being shown what's happening. I'm actually being told. So that brings me to my next point that I want to talk about, which is showing and not telling. It's really important to show your reader what is happening rather than telling them what is happening. So this is what it would look like if I was telling you what was happening. Max sped up and won the race. That's great, but I can't visualize it. If you were to be shown to me, then it would look like this. As John narrowly moved into the lead, Mac took a quick breath and lowered his head. A surge of adrenaline propelled him forward and across the finish line, just a few inches ahead of John. Now, this makes sense to me, okay? I can really picture what's going on. on. I can see that he takes a breath. I can see he lowers his head and he's using every bit of energy and adrenaline inside of him to push forward, to propel him across the finish line. So this is what I want to see in your narrative writing. I want you to show me what is happening. Don't tell me what's happening. Show me through your 5 senses, okay? That's called imagery, and I want to see that imagery in your narrative, okay? Now this brings me to the next activity that you're going to be working on. So this you're going to be working on your own, and you are going to be listed with 5 boring sentences. They are down here, these 5 boring sentences. And so what you're going to do is you are going to roll a dice. So I gave you a dice roller. It looks like this, and you're going to click roll, and it's going to give you a number. So in this case, I got the number 1. So I'm going to have to add 2 adverbs. So looking at number 1, it says Shauna broke the window. So if I'm adding 2 adverbs, that means that I'm going to have to modify the word broke. So Shauna accidentally broke the window. That would be 1 adverb. So I can say Shauna accidentally and regretfully broke the window. So there you go. I added 2 adverbs. Now I'm going to do this again because for each sentence you're going to roll the die twice. So I'm going to go back to my die roller. I'm going to click roll. And this time it gave me a 1 again. So I'm going to go again. And it gave me a 3. So now I'm going to see, what is a 3? So a 3 is to add a prepositional phrase. So a prepositional phrase is telling me location or time, right? So when did she break this window? So Shauna regretfully and accidentally broke the window during a game of practice. So there you go. I've already expanded my sentence. So you're going to do that for each one of these boring sentences. You're going to roll twice for each sentence and then add whatever it tells you to do. Okay, so that you're going to do on your own, and you're going to turn that in. So basically, with this practice, now you should be able to understand how you can expand the sentences in your narrative draft so that you can write better and write more fluently, and also just in a more interesting way for your reader to be able to understand. Okay, hopefully you understand now improving your narrative writing now that you've watched this video.